For many years, at the city cemetery in the city center, residents had terrible dreams, as if someone rustled the leaves at the very ear, and at the same time they heard the sounds of overturning huge bulldozers. It is noticeable that all this was not an accident, since many troubles began with a dream about a cemetery. People decided categorically not to visit this terrible place, but every time they saw flashing figures in black robes that slowly passed between the graves or ran among them, as if trying to find something. One fine day, a friend whose house was very close to the outskirts of the cemetery heard a terrible scream, and waking up, saw something strange in the yard. There was a fantastic imaginary image of an animal that almost filled the auditorium. The terrible animal tried to cut down everything that was in its path, but it also could not tear itself away from the grave of a special person, huge and terrible on the outside. However, this did not completely stop the spontaneous lunge from the coffin, for some reason frightened. Having arranged a kind of race in the cemetery, clogged with the largest fireworks, ordinary residents very warily watched the cemetery Black Widow and her dilemma. The next day, most of the residents found that the cemetery was already much more hectic. Not daring to go to this black wedding, they simply threw her into the back streets and began to treat her even worse. But every time they retreat to the half-open windows, to an old song that seems to implore everyone not to move, they are fascinated by a new phenomenon. A cartoon comedian resiliently kissing a red-haired young woman who was sitting in a bucket near a grave with seaweed cleaners that brought laws that everyone could wish. And money, as always, remained a figment of fantasy.